All right, let's talk about the game Stray. Today we're going to go deep on this one, not just as a great game, but as a really powerful story. We're going to explore its themes of being trapped, of seeing the world through technology, and the massive cost of trying to open up a world that's been sealed shut for good. And it all starts with a single, crucial moment.
Right from the get-go, the game lays out its entire emotional blueprint in this one event. This quote says it all. It's not just a stumble, it's a total separation. You go from a world of companionship and sunlight, and you are plunged into a world of cold infrastructure and darkness. This is it. This is the moment the game's biggest idea is born. The shift from an open, free life into a completely sealed system.
So here's how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll look closer at that fall into the closed world. Then, we'll get into why seeing this all through a cat's eyes is so incredibly important. After that, we'll explore the city itself, how it's both a shelter and a cage. We'll meet B12, our little digital ghost of a companion. And finally, we'll tackle the big one. Why did this story, which was created before 2020, feel so spot on to all of us living in a post-pandemic world? Okay, let's start with that fall. So picture the opening scene, right? You're part of this little cat family, moving through these beautiful, overgrown ruins. It's a world that feels alive, it has texture. You're with your friends, there's sunlight, and then the ground crumbles. And in an instant, everything changes. And you can really feel that contrast. You're trading this natural, open world for walled City 99. Greenery gives way to metal pipes. Being with your family turns into total isolation. And the thing is, you're still a cat. You've got the same body, the same instincts, the same agility, but the world you've landed in is completely alien to you. That one moment, that shift from a natural home to a sealed-off system is what gives the whole game its power. So that brings us to our hero. A game about being a cat got so much attention, and I think it's because it doesn't offer you some big power fantasy. Instead, Stray offers something so much more real. It's about feeling the world at ground level, through a cat's movements, a cat's size, and a cat's curiosity. And that perspective changes everything. I mean, think about it. If you were playing as a human, you'd be looking at maps, trying to understand the politics of the city. But a cat doesn't care about any of that. The city isn't a bunch of systems to command. It's a giant, explorable playground of surfaces and holes. Those pipes and ledges aren't obstacles, they're highways. And experiencing the world that way, through your body, makes everything feel totally new. Now, this is where the developers, Blue 12 Studio, did something so smart. Trying to simulate every single thing a cat does would be impossible, right? Especially for a smaller team. So their solution was just brilliant. They curated it. They didn't try to simulate all of catness. They focused on the stuff you can see and feel, the way the cat walks, the way it jumps, its posture, and they absolutely nailed it. That's what gives you that incredible feeling of actually being in that body.
Okay, so you're in this new world, but you're not alone. And the central threat in this game, well, it's basically a feline nightmare. The hostility here is this really clever twist on a cat's natural instincts. The danger comes in a shape that you're hardwired to notice, but the relationship is just all wrong.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Zerks. These things are a work of genius in how unsettling they are. They're small and they swarm, kind of like rodents, so your cat brain immediately kicks in. But their whole deal is contamination, infestation. The game basically fuses the idea of prey with the idea of a plague. So that core feline instinct, to spot something, to stalk it, to pounce, it's completely broken. Chasing them just gets you hurt. And that is what turns this city into a true nightmare for a cat. Now let's talk about the city itself. Because Walled City 99 is way more than just a background. It's the central character of this story. It was originally built as a shelter, a refuge from a plague and ecological disaster on the surface. But over time, it turned into something else entirely. This quote from the source material is everything. Safety and imprisonment occupy the same architecture. The city's design, all the gates, the corridors, the different districts, they were all emergency measures that just became permanent. The shell that was meant to protect people became the shape of their whole lives. And yeah, life goes on, routines develop, but everywhere you look, you feel this massive absence, this sense that the sky is supposed to be up there. And as you climb through the city, you see all the different flavors of this enclosed life. You start in the slums, where being trapped is just settled routine. Then you hit the sewers, where it's pure danger and contamination. Ant Village is this little pocket of refuge, a crack in the system. Midtown feels like a tightly managed, monitored version of normal life. And then finally you reach the jail, which strips it all down to what it really is: total coercive control.
Of course, the cat isn't on this journey alone. You have your companion, the little drone B12. And at first, he just seems like a handy tool, a flashlight and a translator. But his role is so much deeper than that.
Really, you can think of B12 as the cat's prosthetic hand for dealing with this technological world. Together, they're like a single protagonist, just split into two halves. The cat is all body, all instinct. B12 is all interface, all language. You've got this living, breathing animal moving through a dead city, accompanied by a little machine that can speak its languages and unlock its secrets. That partnership is the heart of the game.
And then comes the big twist, right? B12 isn't just a machine. He's a digital ghost. He is the last fragmented consciousness of a human scientist who helped create the city. He represents the broken memory of humanity, just like the cat represents living physical continuity. He's carrying the entire history of this place inside him, and that makes the whole story feel incredibly intimate and personal.
So this brings us to the most fascinating question of all. Stray started development years before the pandemic, and yet when it came out, it felt like it was speaking directly to a world that had just gone through a massive, shared experience of enclosure and mediated contact. How did it resonate so perfectly?
Well, the answer is in this idea of an experiential allegory. See, the game isn't a direct, topical allegory. It's not about a pandemic. There are no masks or lockdowns. Instead, it's an experiential one. It just happens to reproduce the shape and the feeling of that condition. It was a complete coincidence, but it arrived with a world whose core principles just happened to line up perfectly with what we had all just lived through. I mean, just look at this list of feelings from the game. Being trapped in a sealed world? Check. That constant anxiety moving between safe zones and danger zones? Check. That incredibly powerful emotional ache for the outside? Oh yeah, and even the way B12 acts as our technological connection to the world, it all just fit. The world that played Stray had been trained by recent history to feel every single one of these things with a new kind of precision. And the game's climax ties all of this together beautifully. You and B12 finally make it to the main control room. The chance to open the roof, to let the sky in, is finally real. But it requires a massive system overload, and B12 has to connect himself directly to the core to do it. The final sequence is this incredible mix of victory and loss. The huge shutters slide open, sunlight floods the city for the first time in ages, and B12 burns out and falls to the floor.
So in the end, the cat climbs out alone, walking back toward the surface and into a world that's big enough to move in again. The city is open, yes, but at a tremendous cost. And I think that's the question the game leaves us with. What is the real price of reopening a world that has learned to live completely sealed shut? What has to be sacrificed to let the outside back in?